Some moments carve themselves into your soul so deeply that years later, they're still vivid and alive. This particular night has stayed with me, woven into the very fabric of who I've become. You're not alone now. He lifted his gaze to meet mine. His expression was raw, no pretenses, just exhaustion and vulnerability. You were always kind to me, he murmured. I couldn't think of anyone else who might understand without judging. We talked quietly for hours, our voices barely rising above the wind that rattled the window panes. He shared everything. The promotion that had turned into a nightmare, the girlfriend who'd left without warning, taking half his furniture and all his confidence. The father who still expected him to pursue law school when Jack wanted to open a woodworking studio. I listened, truly present with him, and slowly the tension in his shoulders began to ease. He leaned back, releasing a long, slow breath. It feels strange, he said. Being here again like I'm 17 and everything was simpler. I smiled, a wistful expression tugging at the corner of my mouth. Sometimes I wish everything were simpler too. The clock chimed midnight. The house creaked and settled like old houses do, as though it were listening to our conversation. Became aware of how quiet it had grown outside, the mist turning into a gentle drizzle. Jack glanced at the rain streaking the window, then back at me. I don't want to impose. I can find somewhere else to go. I interrupted gently but firmly. You're not imposing. Stay as long as you need. You're safe here. His eyes glistened for a moment, then he blinked the emotion away. Thank you. I can't tell you what this means. We sat in comfortable silence, the kind that feels full rather than empty. I could sense the years between us, but also the thread of familiarity that transcended age. This wasn't romantic. It was simply deeply human. Two people meeting at a point of vulnerability, offering each other the solace neither could find elsewhere. When he finally stood to stretch his legs, the towel slipped from his shoulders. He caught it, laughing softly at his own clumsiness. I must look like a complete mess. You look like someone who needed a friend, I replied softly. He smiled at that, and the atmosphere in the room shifted, lighter now, warmer, more comfortable. That was the first night. The night Jack knocked, and I opened the door, not understanding just how profoundly it would affect me. I didn't realize then that it would lead to new understanding about myself, about him, about the quiet spaces where lives unexpectedly intersect. All I knew in that moment was that a young man I'd once regarded as my son's companion had come to my door seeking comfort, and that I, a woman who believed her nurturing days had passed, still had something meaningful to offer. As Jack settled back onto the sofa with his mug of tea, and I pulled the throw blanket around my shoulders, I felt the sharp edges of my loneliness begin to soften. Outside, the drizzle turned into steady rain, and inside, two people shared the kind of silence that heals more profoundly than words ever could. I sat across from Jack, my hands wrapped around my mug, trying to ignore the unfamiliar fullness in my chest. It had been years since I'd sat with another person like this. No agenda, just presence and listening. Jack's eyes appeared clearer now. The dampness in his hair had dried, leaving it tousled and messy, and color had returned to his cheeks. He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped like he was holding something precious. I apologize for showing up like this, he said. I didn't plan it. I just started driving and ended up here. I'm grateful you did, I replied softly. Sometimes driving is the only way to keep yourself from completely falling apart. He gave a faint, humorless laugh, but it was genuine. Yeah, I kept thinking about this house. How safe it always felt. How you never made me feel like I was in the way, even when I probably was. You were never in the way, I reassured him. You were always welcome here. He studied his hands for a moment, and I noticed the calluses on his palms, a testament to the woodworking he did in his spare time, despite his father's disapproval. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to actually live, to stop just surviving it. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, I said. I've been asking myself the same thing for longer than I care to admit. His eyes met mine, surprised. You? But you always seemed. So composed. So together, I finished for him, and he nodded. Yeah. That night when I showed up here, he continued, I was in a really dark place. I've been thinking a lot about whether it's worth continuing. Not actively suicidal, but wondering what the point was when everything felt meaningless. My heart clenched. Jack, I said, my voice shaking slightly, I'm glad you came here. So glad you trusted me enough to be vulnerable. He nodded, his voice firm. You made it easy to trust you. You created a space where I could be honest without fear. That's a rare gift. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, processing everything that had been shared. Then Jack smiled, lightening the mood. So, we're basically saving each other, right? I give you the courage to pursue your writing. You give me the courage to pursue woodworking. We're like mutual inspiration. I laughed, grateful for the shift in tone. I suppose we are not a bad arrangement. Not bad at all, he agreed. And so it began, our unlikely friendship. It grew deeper with each passing day, connection that didn't fit into easy categories. We weren't mentor and student, but we learned from each other. We weren't peers, not quite. We weren't family, but we cared for each other deeply. We were simply two souls who met at the right moment and chose to nurture it.